Brian to Guy at HeyGuy.co, this whole Fire Shanahan deal is mind-boggling, and I can't even seem to comprehend those fans' train of thought. I lived through the runs in the early 80s and 90s, and I thought we would be great forever. And then the early 2000s happened. I'm loving this whole regime because we're relevant again. I mean, like I think it's a non-conversation, but I also think it's a big year for Shanahan and Lynch this year. You know, I think part of the reason John Lynch didn't go to TV, didn't go to Amazon when he had the chance to for a lot of money is that he feels like they're close. He felt like they are close, right? Like he's doing this to compete, but really he's doing it to win a Super Bowl as an executive. And I do think when you're close to something, you work hard. It's easier to work harder for something and to keep your eye on the prize when you feel close, right? When you feel like every extra hour you spend or every extra weight you push or every extra whatever you do is really having a real effect on you being this close to winning. Whereas when you're far away, it's a little harder to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I do think when Lynch leaves, it will really test Shanahan because he has a very good situation right now with somebody who like Kyle is the boss, but Kyle also really respects John. And they work really well together. And John has skills that Shanahan doesn't have, and he manages, a level of patience and ability to just, they complement each other really well. So I think like if the Niners win 6 games again, and John Lynch is going, well, I don't know, maybe we're further away than I thought. Maybe I was wrong. Then he leaves, and then Kyle's kind of really on his own. So I think it's a big year for them, even if they don't win the Super Bowl this year, to at least get everybody seeing like, hey, we got Purdy, the window's back open. Even if we don't win it, we missed the chance against a good schedule and back in Santa Clara, but back in the conference chain, whatever it is, they have such an opportunity this year. I mean, you could host the conference championship game and the Super Bowl.
Yeah, not leave all of late January, February. I think the pressure really amounts this year for this regime because everything you laid out. I mean, you have Saleh back. That's what you wanted. That was your only guy that you really focused on. Saleh's back on defense. You have the 4th place schedule, which I'd argue is just as important as having Saleh back. Like playing a team like the Browns versus the Bengals is huge. So I think a lot rides on this draft class because build momentum from 2024 class. It's pivotal and, shore up the D-line, figure it out. But yeah, I think a lot rides on 2025.
That is a good point. Like how much are they going to, they relied a lot on the 2024 draft class, a ton. Those guys now, when you're a rookie, the bar is lower. So there's a new bar now. Like this next year, there's going to be a new bar for those guys, right? Like Malik Mustafa, are you just going to be the safety?
Yeah.
No longer like, oh, he's good for a rookie. What a find. No, like, are you better than Hufanga or Jair Brown? Because it feels like Jair Brown plateaued. A lot of pressure. Diamador Lenore, like Mooney Ward's gone. Now you're the number 1 guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Number 11 pick. Like Niners have had some really good. They've had some blow-ups in the first round. Even Pearsall, like too slow to get going. Got shot, I know. But don't forget, before that, he wasn't healthy through camp.
Right. It can't be. It has to be a guy that contributes big time. And we'll get into the draft stuff, but it has to be a guy that contributes. But also one more note on when John Lynch inevitably leaves. One thing he does that's underrated is he takes so many bullets for Kyle. Like in the press conference, he's like, let me answer this for Kyle. And he just steps in front. And
that was the special teams one. Remember the special teams one this year?
Yeah.
So Kyle Kami was like, Kyle, you don't like special teams. Kyle's like, what are you talking about?
So, yeah, I mean, it's been they've had the ups and downs and the swing and misses, but they are relevant to Brian's comment, and they've been good and maybe a few plays away from, seeing the Lombardi.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope they do a real internal, and I don't know if they are. How did we end up at Wilkes and Sorensen? Like, is there anything we could have done differently besides just, well, hey guys, we're in the Super Bowl, So long year means you don't have time to hire a coordinator. You know, all the other guys are gone. I think there's two things organizationally they really need to make an emphasis. One, develop the next defensive coordinator behind Robert Saleh. Be ready. And two, Kyle Shanahan has to believe that just changing special teams coaches doesn't automatically make special teams better. Like, he's had two different coaches now, and they've both have failed. So, like, they weren't related. They didn't grow up in the same home. They were totally independent of each other. And both Hightower and then Schneider, it didn't work either time. Why? So, you know, and I give credit. I heard Lombardi or Kawakami say this, like, maybe you need to give them a little more ownership. Maybe you need to show special teams you believe that they affect the game. Let them run a fake. Shanahan has famously never run a fake. The Niners have run one fake in the Shanahan era, and Mitch Wishnowsky called it himself. But Kyle has never on the headset been like, yeah, go ahead, guys, run the fake. Never once. Maybe just one. Let them know that all this work they're putting in matters. So that was a good thought, but I would say that those are two like big structural things they need to fix. They need to really look at, you know, because this year they played all these individual games in the margins, but in the end, you're 6-11. You lose all the games in the margins. Your season was not in the margins. You just were nowhere near being a championship team.
I wonder.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wonder how much of that mindset, real quick, of Shanahan playing so conservatively bleeds into the defensive coach too. I wonder if because you remember when I think it was the Vikings Monday Night Football game when Steve Oakes blitzed and they somehow got a long bomb touchdown right at the end of the half, and Shanahan got pissed at Wilkes, and it seems like since then he kind of had his hands tied, and they just played 4 down and just like, all right, bend don't break, and then, you know, it worked for the most part.
Yeah, then had another blow up in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs.
Yep.
Made a critical mistake. That's where the Saleh thing. Like, I think if you're Jed York, part of it is like, let's get Saleh in here and let the defensive coach the defense. You know what I mean? Like, if you're Jed York and you're in the meeting with Kyle, like, Kyle, we got to fix this where you're involved. I don't want you involved on defense like this. You're not your best you. So you let Saleh becomes the head coach of the defense, which is what Vic Fangio is, what Steve Spagnuolo is, especially when your head coach is the play caller. There's just so much on his plate. You don't want him popping his head in the defensive meetings too. And special team, like, tell the special teams coach, hey, man, I know I'm in love with field position, which is what good coaches are in love with field position. They all care about field position. But I'm going to change up how I treat special teams coaches. I'm just going to give you a little bit of rope here, and let's see what you do with it.